Welcome to the Pregnancy Help Podcast. I'm Christine Grimmett, and I'm here with Valerie Harkins, the director of the Maternity Housing Coalition and our housing specialist here at Heartbeat International. And we'll be hearing from a maternity home out in Texas in just a moment, and some of the things that they are working on, what's worked for them, and the growth that they've experienced over the years and how that has all come about. And so before we get into that, I wanted to remind our listeners that in addition to our monthly podcast that focuses specifically on maternity housing, we also host through Heartbeat Academy a monthly webinar that is specific to maternity housing, and Valerie often hosts those or brings in a guest to host those and bring more information your way. So if you are not on Heartbeat's Academy email list, if you're not getting emails reminding you of upcoming webinars and training opportunities through Heartbeat International, please email us at support@heartbeatinternational.org. We want to make sure that you have access to see what's coming up. We also have those recorded webinars available on heartbeatservices.org under the store. It's a very cost-effective way for you to continue your education in your ministry. So I encourage you to check those out, heartbeatservices.org, or get on our email list if you're not already so that we can bring that content your way. So Valerie, I'll turn things on over to you to get us started and introduce our guest.
I appreciate it. So this podcast, I'm particularly excited for. I've been looking forward to. So let me bring the listeners up to speed. My name is Valerie Harkins. As mentioned, I'm the director of the Maternity Housing Coalition. Part of my job is to maintain a relationship with our maternity homes that are a part of the coalition, but also to go and find more maternity homes to bring into the coalition, but to also learn what's being done, what's cutting edge, what is unique. What we found over the years, particularly in the last 5 years, is that there is no one way to do maternity housing. So maternity housing is becoming increasingly niche, and we're finding this is a good thing. So not long ago, I was in Dallas, Texas. I had an opportunity to visit with Viola's house. And whenever I was there, I was pleasantly just surprised and excited to find that this particular organization had some of the foundational tenets of maternity housing, time-tested, proven practices of serving women. But they had also added in some unique and I want to say a modernization to those principles, as well as taking into account their specific community and building out services that were unique and effective for their particular community. This was exciting. Thana Hickman is on with us today. She is CEO of Viola's House. There's a lot to unpack here, but Thana, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to do it and happy to be here with you, Valerie.
So Thana, you and I got a chance to connect a few months ago, and I would say the first time I met you, it felt like I must have known you before. That's how it was for me. It's like, surely this must not be the first time I'm meeting this person. It was a fast and easy conversation about maternity housing, what's going on in the community and the nation, advocacy for women. It really was, it was an encouragement for me to connect with you.
Well, thank you. It was great meeting you, and we spent some days together. We had a lot going on. One of the days that you were here.
Yeah, we did.
It's 3 moms in the hospital.
Yeah.
So we were going from room to room. So yeah, it was great connecting with you. My staff learned so much from you already. They were so excited to actually talk to someone who understood our journey, who understood our day-to-day of what we deal with, the ins and outs. So it was just a pleasure having you come tour, but just making this long-lasting relationship that I know we will have. I just believe that we'll do some great work together.
Well, Thana, let's get started. I like to get started at this point. Why don't you tell us who you are, what you do,
Okay.
where you're doing it, Why?
Absolutely. So, I am the founding CEO of Viola's House, which initially started in 2008, 2009, just as a mentoring program. And we were mentoring teen parents in the local school districts. In Texas, we use ISD. So I was in Plano ISD, Irving ISD, Dallas ISD, and I'm really big on listening to the community and what the community needs, not necessarily what we think they need. And so I started mentoring with some volunteers in the schools and quickly, very quickly, learned of the need for maternity housing, which can be a bit shocking to some people. A lot of people who aren't aware that teens become homeless during pregnancy, or they're couch surfing and become pregnant, or they age out of foster care and become pregnant and have no support system. I learned very quickly of the need for housing, maternity housing specifically, here in DFW. Um, and I prayed about it. And I absolutely said it's something that I need to do. And soon thereafter, I saw the vision of this home. So I took off to Houston to visit. I hit the road in 2010 with some friends to visit Lighthouse in Houston. And I stayed in Houston for about 3 days. I toured, I sat with the residents, and I absolutely knew that this was something that we needed to do in Dallas. Ironically, we looked at communities in Dallas that were most in need in the 75215 and 16 zip codes is where we really saw the highest needs in the school district and then in just the community. When you looked at the graduation rates, the poverty levels, and everything. Um, but I wasn't quite sure how to get my foot into this community. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, so I am never afraid of going into the communities that have the greatest needs and serving in those communities. So I partnered some years later. I received a lot of no's for trying to get a maternity home open. And I could talk to you about that journey. I have so many women that come to me and they want to do it. And a lot of times we miss the blessings and partnerships. And I tell people that all the time. So I partner with Cornerstone Baptist Church, who is really heavy in real estate in the South Dallas area. And that's how we were donated a facility, which is a 4,000 square foot home. It was 5 efficiency apartments at the time. It was dilapidated, terrible. But I was grateful and very grateful to be in this community. So while starting the process of renovating the maternity home, I started in one apartment with 2 beds. And I'll never forget that week. We received 10 applicants, and I was blown away. We did a soft media release. We told a couple neighboring family shelters that we were going to open 2 beds. And I had no idea what the response would be within that first week. And it was 10 applicants. And there I was thrown into maternity housing, starting with 2 beds in an apartment. And we have not stopped since. That was 10 years ago. And we have been moving and shaking ever since, learning some amazing lessons along the way and really learning how to master tailoring services for this demographic.
Yeah, I would say moving and shaking and not slowing down is probably the right way to describe that. Whenever I went to tour your home, it was a tour that just never stopped. It just kept going and
All
going.
right.
There was the next location to go see. There was
Were
so
you
much
on the
to do.
golf cart?
No, well,
Oh,
actually, I was in a car. At first, I was on foot, but
oh
then
my
we got a
God.
car. No, we were driven around actually by your daughter.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah, so she did our tour for us.
That's the daughter that I had as a teen. I had her at 17, and she's now the operations director here at Viola's house. So that's a whole nother full circle moment.
Yeah, she was sharp and lovely. It was great to connect with her there. I myself am a former resident of a maternity home, a teen mother myself. And so it's been a real privilege to see a change in the times of what you call that full circle moment. Thana, there's a growing number of us, of those
Yeah.
that are products of the ministry,
Yeah.
beneficiaries of
Yeah.
ministry. So we're products of someone said yes to
Yeah.
intervention,
Yeah.
and it changed the course of our lives. And now we're seeing that there's really a growing population of those that are starting, operating, supporting, or even spreading the word about maternity homes everywhere. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Hey, Donna, what would you say is unique about Viola's house? I mean,
Well,
what y'all doing different there, do you think?
one of the things that's unique about us is we listen to the community and we adapt based on the need and based on the majority of what we're seeing. So I always say there's no cookie cutter way to provide programming to the residents that enter into a maternity home. And because of that, our staff ratio is really high in comparison to the residents. The reason for that is while we have processes and procedures, we have an in-house counselor who helps us tailor programming for each resident. Um, and that is why our staff ratio is high, so that we can tailor programming for each resident based on their needs. We could have a mom that comes in with a high risk pregnancy where she can't go and work a regular job. And if your requirement is, oh, you must work a job in order to be here, um, we're in a position where we can tailor that programming. We can look at, her medical history and her current medical state, and we actually have the ability to provide her with a job around the corner in our warehouse. Um, at our social service agency, we actually reserve several slots there for instances here in the maternity home where mother cannot necessarily go and just work a regular job. So again, our tailored programming in the way today I was literally just talking to the staff. We are now housing mothers with multiple children. And we're piloting that program, and we're able to tailor the apartment across the street that we're using um, for the demographic of this family. So we're setting up the apartment specifically for the age of these kids, for the baby that's about to be born. And we have the capacity to do that because we've really invested in the staff so that we can tailor our programming. I think that makes us super unique in this space.
Yes, it certainly does. It certainly does. One of the things that I noticed is that you do have, as I dug into it, you do have your foundational programming. You've got
Yeah.
your basic tenets of your programming, yet you have a lot of resilience or adaptability that goes around that.
Mhm.
And I believe that that is particularly unique. I got to see this happen in person because one of the days that I was there happened to be one of those very unique days. And
Mhm.
it's one of those that you just can't plan for.
You
Um,
can.
Perhaps later in the show we'll get into that, but
Yeah.
it was one of those that you started the day with one plan, and there was one resident that maybe was scheduled to have an induction, or was scheduled to have an induction and was probably going to have a baby that day. So everyone was kind of had the buzz about that. They ended the day with three residents in the hospital
Yeah.
for all three different reasons, and watching each of those three test your programming structure and what's going to happen, and which staff member was going to do what, and what was going to happen. Now, for myself, having run and operated maternity homes, I'm quite familiar with that, and it was really a treat to get to watch how everyone handled that. I was kind of behind the curtain, and then going from behind the scenes administratively to handling those things, as well as then in the hospital and trading off with staff members room to room, and working with or ministering to residents as well as each other. You definitely do have that piece down that is unique.
Yeah.
You mentioned a warehouse and a social service agency. You want to tell? I'm sure the listeners
So
are like, what was that?
we have a baby benefit boutique in the form of a social service agency. And it is voucher-based shopping. We call it our Earn While You Learn program. And mothers, not just in our maternity home, but in the community, who are pregnant or parenting a child under the age of 3, are serviced there. And we will service a mother with free diapers through that boutique until that child is 3 years old, without taking any educational classes. But the boutique is beautiful and is filled with beautiful baby items and clothes and shoes. And so that's how we allow a mother to earn her baby bucks to shop in this boutique through our educational program. So right now we have over 500 moms a day that take pregnancy and parenting classes with us. I am told that we have over 100 walk-ins in the boutique every day. We have individual counseling rooms in there, and we have 2 warehouses over there. One is our intake warehouse for donations, because we never sell the items in this boutique. We receive a lot of donations to the tune of about 150 pounds a week of laundry that we have been having our laundry team wash. And then it goes over to our quality control warehouse, where the clothing is examined, no stains, no tears, no rips make it to the floor. We tag the items with a price because the mothers earn baby bucks. It's an automatic budgeting class. When they come into that boutique, they're able to see how many baby bucks they've earned and how much of that they can spend in the boutique. So again, it's disguised as a boutique, but it really is a social service agency. We have a mobile unit that goes out to Dallas Independent School District and services the teen parents in the school district with educational classes and counseling as well, and material assistance. And then we do community pop-ups in 4 zip codes in Dallas that have the greatest need. We will pop up in the parking lot of the largest high schools. A call goes out to that feeder pattern to let the feeder pattern know that Viola's house is coming, and we service a couple hundred moms within hours at our community pop-ups. So our social service agency is pretty big. We also have a satellite office down in Brownsville, and we've got a mobile unit that will be making its way down there in about 2 weeks. It's gorgeous. I just saw it yesterday. It's getting wrapped. And that mobile unit will be all over RGV, providing educational classes and material assistance, which is a huge need. Households choose between food and diapers, and we like to say that we take that choice away by providing diapers for the first 3 years of a child's life.
You mentioned at some point that you can take the women around the corner from the maternity home to the social service agency and give them a job at that point. So
Yes.
does that mean then, is that something that you commonly have happening, where you have residents employed and
Absolutely.
working or contributing to your kind of ecosystem there at Viola's house?
Absolutely. It happens all the time. The slots that we have around there are typically always filled. But in addition to that, we have 61 full-time staff now, which I just learned about last week that we're 61. But over half of that staff is mothers who have been in our program, whether they were in the program through the social service agency, through the maternity home. We have some moms who lived in our maternity home 6 years ago who are now who have received 3 promotions with Viola's house, and they're now in manager positions. So
Yes.
that's one of
Thana,
the things we are really big
congratulations.
on. It's the workforce development here and just really developing moms so that they can really function in the real world. They learn soft skills, but more importantly, they learn to serve, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Um, and just learning to serve a demographic that they can relate to. Then you have staff that has empathy and grace for the clients that they're serving because they were once in their shoes.
Congratulations. That's the biggest congratulations to you. 61, but about half of those being
Yeah,
women who are beneficiaries of the program.
yeah, more than half actually. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's what's unique.
Yeah.
That's that's the
I should have
unique
said
that's
that
the unique.
first, huh?
Yeah, I was like, well, that's now we're really getting to it. Then we're really getting to it. Okay, so this kind of brings up a good moment for me to ask a couple of questions that I like to ask. Sometimes other homes ask, but usually it's only those that are maybe nerdy like me that like data, outcomes, all of that.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to get into this. Tell me, what do the outcomes of Viola's house look like so far?
Okay.
But let me preference it this way so that I can have that answer in context. I'm curious to know what the outcomes are looking like, but I also need to know then how do you measure success? What would you consider a success?
So let me be very clear here that one of the most discouraging things for maternity homes, and I speak to, other directors all the time, is when a mother leaves the maternity home, whether she is discharged or whether she is transitioned out because she's completely gone through all of the programming that she needed to complete to live independently. One of the most discouraging things is to directors is when they say, well, I don't understand how we helped them, or she left, because she wouldn't follow the rules, so we really didn't help them. Um, I am big on knowing that we're planting seeds every single day, no matter what. And one of the things about planting a seed is you typically will not see an immediate harvest from a seed. But if you are intentional every day through your work about planting seeds, it's just like when you're raising kids. Eventually, they come back and they say, oh my gosh, thank you. I get it. So, our social service agency is really big in helping us continue to serve as mothers once they leave the maternity home. A lot of the mothers, we would not be able to track them if we didn't have the ongoing wraparound services, right? Um, and so we're able to track mothers through our social service agency really well. Um, and most moms who leave our maternity home, I don't care what the circumstances, will continue to get services from us through our social service agency. Our counselor, our in-house counselor is Dr. Miller. um, she is always coming in here giving me updates on residents who have left here. She keeps up with them really well. One of the things that we're big on tracking for a year after the mother leaves our maternity home is, one, do we have a mother that repeats homelessness and what causes that? One of the driving factors when a mother leaves the maternity home as to why she would repeat homelessness is, one, she did not leave here correctly, meaning she chose to leave because she didn't want to follow rules, or two, she did not continue to utilize the access to free childcare, which is a huge barrier for repeating homelessness. And when a mother leaves here and she chooses to go and live with someone and she's back to couch surfing, then you will typically see a repeat pregnancy within a year. So there are a lot of factors that we're able to look at and track. But I think Viola's house has done an amazing job of continuing to track the residents once they leave the maternity home. And that is what helps us not feel disparity in the work that we did when they were here. It leads me back to the seed that we planted here, because a lot of times we don't see the outcomes that we want to see until 1 to 2 years later, right? And then we don't have the conversations that we want to hear until 1 to 2 years later. And so the mother has shown that she listened, she watched, and she continued to take the steps outside of the maternity home to better her life. I have a specific resident I want to use as an example. Her name is Faith. And she was in our maternity home for a little bit over a year. What happened during COVID is our stays were lengthier here during COVID, and we relaxed with some of the timelines of how long you could be here. So I want to use Faith as an example. Faith was not the easiest resident here at Viola's house. As a matter of fact, her pregnancy, she came very close to death with giving birth to her baby Leo. But we had a live-in house mother who we supported her very heavy with her baby Leo. And one of the things we talked to her about is you're leaving here with free childcare and a cash car and the apartment program that we've gotten you into. And we told her, we are still here to support you. Don't lose your childcare because you can't pick your baby up on time. Put the staff as your emergency pickup. We use the same child care facility that's 4 blocks away. And so when she left here, she wasn't where we really wanted her to be. But over the past 2 to 3 years, she has gotten certified in phlebotomy. She has kept a job. She has kept that same cash card that we allow the residents to use their tax return to get. We actually encourage them because transportation is a barrier. And she has kept that baby in childcare. Now, we can talk about the apartment we put her in, and she's on her second apartment now. She didn't stay in that program, but she didn't even need to stay in that program. And so years later, we see a different Faith. And she comes back and she does testimonials for us. She actually comes back to serve. That's huge. So when we look at just tracking individual outcomes, we want to look 1 to 2 years out, which the good thing again with Viola's house is we are clearly able to do that because we have provided the wraparound services to really track the outcomes. Now, all outcomes aren't the same, but I can tell you, typically, as we track a mother and she comes back into our social service agency with another pregnancy, or she is facing homelessness again, I can pretty much tell you now the circumstances behind that. But the good thing is the seeds that we planted, keep them coming back for the wraparound services, and we can continue to impact their lives. Did I answer your question? I did.
You did. You
Okay.
did. You answered it and then some. And I'm so glad. I was just thinking there's a few sound bites in there that I want to be able to use. You know, longevity is important in so many perspectives, right? But it takes 18 plus years to raise a child. And so often what I find that's happening at a maternity home is not only her learning new skills to move forward, but it's also giving her this free time and space to unlearn some things that she learned in the past before. But that process is messy and it's hard. I talk to homes quite a bit about, we give a good amount of attention to um, breaking generational curses, or what some call generational cycles with residents. But what often I encourage is that truly the attention is due towards the work that comes with generational blessings and developing that new cycle. Developing those new cycles, those new habits, what becomes that generational blessing is hard.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of practice. It's a lot of failure and starting over, and that just doesn't happen in a microwave. And so what you're talking about with 1 to 2 years is great. I encourage homes to look 3 to 5 years out. So yours is 1 to 2 years, but I usually find that those first couple of years, when the resident is parenting her infant, there is so much that she is experiencing and going through herself. Sometimes it almost feels as though she is re-parenting herself, or having an opportunity to become parented again,
Yeah.
which again doesn't happen immediately, just like with her infant, right? It takes months and years to see
Yeah.
that development.
And listen, don't get me wrong, Valerie. I have moms who walk in here and their babies are 6 and 7, and they stay connected. I had a mother find me on social media last week. She was one of the first mothers 10 years ago in our apartment program. And the first thing I said is, how many kids you got now? And her and her sister were in the apartments together. Just generational dysfunction, right, with their parents. And they
Yeah.
both, when they left, they didn't leave Viola's house. They left and went back to Louisiana to their families. But it's always interesting that they find us, they come by, they raid the refrigerator. We just bought a mother car in January. Her son is 7. She has never stopped coming around. And I remember putting her out of the apartment when her baby was 2 weeks old, because she had a man hiding in the closet. But a year later, she came back and she said, Miss Thana, I understand what I did. I'm ready to follow the rules. I understand how great this program was. We took her back a year later. And when she finally transitioned, she transitioned to her own place. And she has never stopped working since. Her son has always been in school. So, yeah, we have so many moms where we are just their aunts over here. If a mom still has my cell phone number, then I know I mothered them directly myself, because most of the mothers don't have my cell phone anymore. But that's the blessing on Mother's Day. My phone is pretty crazy, and it's typically a lot of old residents from back in the day, who still know that we are a safe place for them, not just Viola's house, but me. So I'm very grateful to sit in this seat and be able to serve in this capacity every day. It's tough work, but I'm grateful that so many mothers, still consider this home. So, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do my best to not rabbit trail, because I could go on and on about home and the concept of home and
Oh
permanency and all
man,
of that. So
really? I know.
I'm exercising
It's
all of
what's in
my,
your heart,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it's where your heart feels safe.
yeah.
Oh man, yeah, we could talk about that forever. But I didn't understand it until I started doing this work. Like, why are you coming back here raiding our refrigerator and in my face, and I'm in this office trying to work? And this is where
That's
they
home.
felt
Yeah,
safe. This is where they felt home. And I finally had to understand that, and I fuss at them a lot, but I love it. I may fuss, but I absolutely love it.
I believe it. Well, let me ask you this. this model that you have going, your social services agency, your 61 employees now, staff now, your maternity home, would you say that this model is feasible to implement in other communities?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you think? What makes it feasible? Because I say that because the size of it, the sheer size of it makes it sound as though it would not be feasible. So
So it's feasible because we actually started the social service agency here from inside of the maternity home. We realized the need within the community. And so maternity homes have overflow of donations. Typically, maternity homes have a closet with resources. And sometimes, even if it's just once a month, where you open that up and say, I'm going to start serving the community. One thing that I have learned is that you have to start. And once you start, the provision normally comes for you to continue to grow. Um, a lot of homes are scared to step outside of who they're serving in the home to say, let's get into the community a little bit more. Your impact in the community is so important because when your mothers leave the home, you still need to have impact in the community that they're in. And so that's really, really important that you build your community resources and try to serve the community who are not necessarily homeless, but just in need of resources in their houses. So
so what
it's feasible. You don't have to, look at where we are now and say, how do I get there? We got there by putting two outfits in a Ziploc bag and having a bin that was labeled and telling the community, hey, come to our maternity home porch. And we had a barbecue outside, a barbecue grill. It's very feasible to do. Not only that, the main people that were serving the community when we were doing it out of the maternity home were the mothers that lived here in the maternity home.
Mhm.
It's a lesson of teaching them to serve as well. And that's one of the greatest lessons that we can go through life, knowing that we have to give to something greater than ourselves. If we don't get that as a community, then we will never pull together as a community. If people don't teach others how to give to something greater than themselves, I can absolutely go and repeat this model in Baltimore, in Chicago, and we're gonna talk about Chicago. You set me up.
Yeah.
You set me up. We're opening an apartment there though, but
Did it? Okay. Sorry,
you
Christine,
set
you
me
might
up.
have to
We're gonna
cut that
talk
out.
about it.
But I've been
But
curious how it's been going.
but I can absolutely go and repeat this model at a very low cost until it grows and the provision comes for that growth. We can absolutely repeat this model.
What would you say? What would, just summarizing this, say someone wants to open a maternity home, they they don't know where to start, right? They're kind of in that boat. Maybe they feel a call and they feel like it's something they're supposed to do. What would you encourage them? What should an organization or what should a person be thinking about when they're considering opening a maternity home?
Um, Honestly, their personal capacity. I'm just going to be honest. I went through a divorce while doing this housing program. Um, I lost a lot. I sacrificed a lot personally. If you are considering opening a maternity home, you have to really consider your personal capacity. And that's, Valerie, that's just being real. You can, I think most people, the first thing they say is money, 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 right? If you don't have the capacity to get to the money, if you don't have the mental capacity to get through the tough years, then you may want to just go and serve at a maternity home. I served at Interfaith Housing for 7 years. 7 years I served at Interfaith Housing while I was doing my mentoring program. But by the time I finished serving in housing and mentoring and counseling residents that were in a housing program, I knew if I had the capacity to do it. I encourage anybody to serve and volunteer before you start. Serve before you start, because you need to really know that you have the personal capacity to do it. What is your family dynamic? Because while I thought my family dynamic was perfect, I mean, we looked great. We looked like the Cosbys, me and my husband and my 3 kids. And, I always had another girl living in my house because that was just me. So it looked great. But does your mate have the capacity for the work that you're doing? And these are tough conversations that we need to have as leaders, because you can have a heart all day long to serve, but do you really have the capacity? So you might just need to go serve and volunteer someplace else, until you can really do an assessment of yourself. I absolutely advise people to do a SWOT analysis of yourself. Do a SWOT analysis of yourself. Set up your own personal advisory board, right? Because you are not going to walk into a check. I advise people to have multiple streams of income when you start. I was bivocational for years. And these are the conversations that people don't want to have. They don't want to hear the sacrificial part of doing this work. And so I'm really real. I get asked this question all the time, and I'm really transparent about it. I'll never forget my ex-husband told me, "You go live with those homeless girls you care so much about, I'm divorcing you." And that was my reality. And so
Yeah.
I became the single mother that I was serving. But I knew the vision, I knew what God showed me, and I knew what He called me to do. And you have to be affirmed in the calling. This is not a job. This is not a job where you walk into and you ready to collect a check every 2 weeks. This is a calling. And it's so unique. It's such a unique space. You have to really know. You just can't see somebody else doing it and say, "Oh, that looks glamorous. Let me do it." And I hear that all the time. "Oh, you're in DC, you're doing this." Oh man, when I really write about my journey and take the time to write about what this journey really looks like, I try to discourage everybody from doing it, right? I do. That's how I start out. I've got a girl now with 3 properties in Arkansas, and she is adamant that she wants to do it, and I'm trying my best to discourage her from doing it. Not because the services are not needed in Pine Bluff, but what happens is you will create so much damage if you are not prepared and you are not ready, and now you got all these people dependent on you, then you're causing more damage. So I start out by discouraging people from doing it. And I know that sounds crazy. If they can make it through my discouragement of doing it, if they can make it through my toughest stories and still do everything I've told them to do. I had this girl go through a 462-page county health assessment report for the county that she wants to open up in. And I asked her very detailed questions about that report to see if she even read it, because I want to discourage her. I wanted her to see the need in that county in the worst way possible. Look at the deaths. Look at what's happening. Look at the poverty rate. Look at all of that. Are you ready for that? Because it's nothing glamorous about it. I combed my hair today and put on some makeup. But yesterday I spent 5 hours doing a leadership training with my directors, a 2-hour call with accounting, another interview with another magazine, and then another hour and a half interview for a book that somebody wants me to be a partial writer on. So, I mean, really, I try to discourage people from doing it because you will cause so much damage if you are not ready.
So I love how surprising that feedback is for us. And I know exactly what you're talking about. What I will say is, for those that are listening, if you are interested in opening a home and you hear all of that, right? And you say, I'm up for it. I really feel called and I really want to do this. Then of course, reach out to us at the Maternity Housing Coalition with housing at heartbeatinternational.org. And we can go over that with you. We can get you set up, and we can introduce you to all types of programs like Viola's House, or different programs perhaps in your community that are doing this work. So as we wrap up, Thana, what's next on the radar for Viola's House?
Well, you set me up with this visit in Chicago, so I'll be in Chicago June 20th. I've had several meetings with the pastor there that has a 14,000 square foot building. And we are going to strategize on how to bring maternity housing in the best way possible to Chicago. It's a tough state. Illinois is a very tough state.
Yes, it
And
is.
so there are a lot of barriers with maternity housing in Illinois. Ironically, Chicago is my home state. And so I'd already done the research and I knew the barriers. So I'm looking at piloting a program in Chicago. We'll start with 2 apartments. I'm big on partnering with community churches, not just a church. We partner with Cornerstone, and it has been one of the greatest collaboration. I will give a nugget here to people who do want to get started and they know that they're called. Churches in the community, their greatest assets is typically real estate. And churches in the community typically don't know what to do with that real estate and how to do community outreach. I tell people all the time, partner with churches that have real estate, and that collaboration could be powerful for the community to provide maternity housing. So we're looking at the Chicago market. I am also going in June to actually put a contract on our home in Baltimore. We're opening a maternity home in Baltimore. Very, very difficult region. And we're going to start small. So I like to pilot programs to work out the kinks for the area and really understand what my surrounding resources are. So our house mom that used to live here in Dallas in the maternity home will be moving to Baltimore. We're going to do the live-in model there. I expect that by the end of the year, we would have taken our first resident in Baltimore on the East Coast, Chicago. I'm looking at a social service agency for Camden, New Jersey. Really, the goal is national and then international. But again, I'm big on partnerships. And so as I get into these communities, I go and I form the partnerships and the relationships to make sure that we have the programming and the wraparound services to truly impact these mothers' lives. So we've got a lot on our plate right now. In addition to that, let me tell you my project here in Dallas, right around the corner from here, is Purpose Palace on Park. Right now in Texas, there is no access to abortion, period, which means our demographic and our housing applicant has really changed over the last 2 years. We're seeing moms over the age of 30 with multiple children. As a matter of fact, that's over 70% of our applicants right now. And so once I saw this happening, once I saw the barriers with childcare, I went back to our original partners at Cornerstone and I said, listen, I've got to open up more housing for moms with multiple children. And again, same criteria. They must be pregnant or have just given birth. But Cornerstone came to me last year, handed me the keys to a mansion around the corner. We call that mansion Purpose Palace on Park. The first floor was already zoned for childcare, so we'll be able to provide free childcare to our mothers here in Dallas who are in our program or living in any of our housing facilities. The second floor will be family suites for moms with multiple children who are pregnant or who have just given birth. We're about to move a mom into the apartment across the street who is due to give birth in 3 weeks, and she's got 2 other kids. And again, that's the demographic of the housing applicants that we're now seeing in Texas. The community is speaking, and we are stepping up to meet that need.
I'm excited to come out there to see Purpose Palace. I drove by it a couple of months ago, but it was in renovation phases. So I'm excited to see when it's open, but I am especially excited at some point, I want to come out to Baltimore to see what you're doing up there. I have the privilege of working with a couple of maternity homes in the area, but it's sparse. There's not a lot of support out there. So I'm particularly eager to get behind and support what you're doing. I got to get out there and go see what's going on.
And the key, Valerie, is connecting to legislators and the delegation and just making sure that, those who are in the office writing the bills and signing the bills are aware of what's really happening in the community so that we can get the support at the highest level. That's a lot of the work that I'm doing in DC, the advocacy work, but also I sit in rooms and I really become a voice in DC for people who are looking at reports. I'm the voice in the room that's telling them what's really happening in the community. Yeah. I office in the maternity home on purpose because I like to stay very close to the mission. But it's very important for me to get to DC and really tell them what I'm experiencing and seeing myself in the community so that they know where to appropriate the funds for our communities.
Well, thanks for getting with us today. You want to tell our listeners a website if they want to learn more about your ministry?
Absolutely. Our website is www.violashouse.org. Our Facebook is Viola's House Dallas, and our Instagram is Viola's House Dallas. You can see all of the updates and everything happening here on campus right under our social media or our website.
Well, Thana, thanks for meeting with us today. As usual, conversations with you are my favorite, and I'm appreciative.
Well, thank you. It's great talking to you too.
All right. Thank you both so much. It was really fascinating to hear about Viola's House and all the growth you've experienced. So we are grateful for all that you're doing and all the homes are doing. And again, in addition to our monthly housing podcast, Heartbeat Academy offers a monthly webinar focused on housing topics. And Valerie typically hosts those or brings in a guest to host those and just bring content your way that's relevant and helpful for you and your organization. So if you are not getting emails from Heartbeat Academy, email us at support@heartbeatinternational.org. And if you found today's conversation helpful, chances are someone else will too. So I encourage you to share this or in any of our podcast episodes that you found beneficial. It's an easy way to spread ideas and the message of pregnancy help. So thanks to all of you that have done that, and we encourage others to do so. And subscribe to the Pregnancy Help podcast for future episodes. So with that, thanks for listening, and we hope you all have a very blessed rest of your day.